Every single day you drive your Chevy or Ford, you are burning between 8 and 15% more fuel than your engine was designed to use. Not because of gas prices, not because of how you drive, because of one specific component inside your engine that costs $3 to fix, and that every Chevy and Ford dealer in America charges $150 to $200 to replace on a schedule designed around their service revenue, not your fuel bill. The fix takes 15 minutes in your own driveway, requires one basic tool, and the fuel savings begin immediately, the very next time you fill your tank. The average American spends $3,200 per year on gasoline. 10% of that, $320, is wasted fuel from this one unfixed component every single year. Stay with me, because what I am about to show you is so simple that the only reason 90% of Chevy and Ford owners have never done it themselves is that nobody in the repair industry has ever had a financial reason to tell them how. Your Chevy Silverado or Ford F-150 engine burns a precise mixture of air and fuel to produce power. The ratio of air to fuel, called the air-fuel ratio, must stay within a very narrow range for your engine to operate at maximum efficiency. Too little air, engine runs rich, burns excess fuel, power drops, fuel economy drops. Too much air, engine runs lean, temperatures spike, long-term damage follows. Your engine manages this ratio through a system of sensors and actuators working together thousands of times per minute. And at the center of that system is one component that degrades silently on every single drive your truck has ever taken: the oxygen sensor. Your Chevy or Ford has between 2 and 4 oxygen sensors depending on engine configuration. These sensors measure the oxygen content of your exhaust gases and send real-time signals to your engine control module, telling it whether to add more fuel or reduce fuel on the next combustion cycle. A fresh oxygen sensor responds to exhaust gas changes in approximately 50 milliseconds. Your ECM uses those rapid responses to maintain the precise air-fuel ratio that maximizes fuel economy and power. But oxygen sensors degrade. The sensing element, a ceramic tip coated with platinum and zirconia, accumulates microscopic contamination from combustion byproducts on every drive. Carbon deposits, oil vapor residue, fuel additive residue. After 60,000 to 80,000 miles, this contamination layer slows the sensor's response time from 50 milliseconds to 200 or 300 milliseconds. Your ECM is now receiving delayed signals, making fuel delivery corrections based on exhaust conditions that existed a quarter second ago. At highway cruise speeds, your engine completes approximately 40 combustion cycles per second. A 200 millisecond sensor delay means your ECM is making fuel corrections based on data that is 8 combustion cycles out of date. The result: your engine runs slightly rich on average, slightly more fuel than needed on every combustion cycle. All day, every mile. Chevy and Ford engineers designed oxygen sensors to be replaced every 60,000 to 100,000 miles. This recommendation appears in your owner's manual. It is the single most ignored scheduled maintenance item in American truck ownership, because dealers never remind you about it, since a $3 sensor is not a profitable service appointment. Here is the fuel economy math that your dealer has never done for you. A fresh oxygen sensor maintaining precise 50 millisecond response time keeps your air-fuel ratio within 0.5% of the optimal stoichiometric ratio, 14.7 parts air to 1 part fuel. A degraded oxygen sensor with 250 millisecond response time allows your air-fuel ratio to drift an average of 4 to 6% rich of optimal. Your ECM compensates partially, but cannot fully correct for a sensor that is responding too slowly to keep up with combustion cycle changes. 4 to 6% excess fuel on every combustion cycle, all day, every mile. The EPA's own fuel economy testing data shows that degraded oxygen sensors reduce fuel economy by an average of 8 to 12% in real-world driving conditions for V8 engines and 6 to 10% for turbocharged V6 engines. For a Chevy Silverado averaging 18 miles per gallon city and highway combined, a 10% degraded sensor fuel economy penalty means your truck is effectively getting 16.2 miles per gallon instead of 18. At 15,000 miles per year and current average gas prices of $3.40 per gallon, the difference between 18 mpg and 16.2 mpg costs you approximately $290 per year in wasted fuel. $290 per year in fuel waste from a $3 oxygen sensor that your dealer charges $150 to $200 to replace, because at that price it becomes a profitable service appointment. A new oxygen sensor from your local auto parts store, Bosch, Denso, or NGK, costs between $20 and $45 depending on your specific application. Installation time: 15 minutes with a basic oxygen sensor socket. Total cost, including tool, under $50. The dealer equivalent service, $150 to $200 parts and labor, for a 15-minute job using a $20 to $45 part. Let me be specific about which sensors matter most for Chevy Silverado and Ford F-150 owners. For Chevy Silverado 5.3L and 6.2L EcoTec3, your 5.3L has 4 oxygen sensors, 2 upstream sensors before the catalytic converters, and 2 downstream sensors after. The upstream sensors, also called air-fuel ratio sensors on the EcoTec3, are the critical ones for fuel economy. These are the sensors reporting directly to your ECM on every combustion cycle. On the 5.3L EcoTec3 with AFM, the upstream sensors experience additional thermal stress from the cylinder deactivation cycling we covered in a previous video. AFM creates exhaust temperature spikes on reactivation cycles that accelerate oxygen sensor contamination faster than in non-AFM engines. Result: 5.3L AFM Silverado upstream sensors should be replaced at 60,000 miles. Not 100,000, not when the check engine light comes on, at 60,000 miles. For Ford F-150 2.7L and 3.5L EcoBoost. Your EcoBoost has 4 oxygen sensors, 2 upstream wideband sensors, and 2 downstream narrowband sensors. The upstream wideband sensors on the EcoBoost are the most technologically sophisticated oxygen sensors Ford has ever put in a production truck, and the most expensive to replace at the dealer. But here is what makes the EcoBoost situation more urgent than the naturally aspirated Silverado. Turbocharging increases exhaust gas temperatures significantly compared to natural aspiration. Higher exhaust temperatures accelerate the contamination of the platinum zirconia sensing element on the upstream wideband sensors. EcoBoost upstream sensors degrade measurably faster than naturally aspirated sensors at equivalent mileage. Independent testing shows EcoBoost upstream sensors operating at 250 millisecond response time, the degraded threshold, at an average of 55,000 miles, compared to 75,000 miles for naturally aspirated V8 applications. The fuel economy penalty for degraded EcoBoost upstream sensors, 10 to 14%, higher than the naturally aspirated penalty because the ECM is making turbo boost adjustments as well as fuel delivery corrections based on slow sensor data. 10 to 14% fuel economy penalty on a truck getting 20 mpg highway costs EcoBoost owners approximately $340 per year in wasted fuel, $340 per year, from a sensor that costs $25 to $40 at any auto parts store. There is a delivery company in Ohio running 14 Chevy Silverados and 9 Ford F-150s in a mixed fleet. The fleet manager replaces all oxygen sensors at 55,000-mile intervals across both brands. Annual fuel cost savings compared to his previous schedule of replacing only on check engine light, approximately $4,200 per year across the 23 truck fleet. $4,200 per year saved from $3 to $45 sensors replaced on schedule. Here is exactly what to do for both Chevy Silverado and Ford F-150. Step 1. Identify your sensors. For Silverado 5.3L and 6.2L, you need 2 upstream air-fuel ratio sensors. Part numbers vary by year. Search your VIN at any auto parts retailer for exact fitment. Bosch and Denso are the recommended brands. Both are OEM suppliers to GM. For F-150 EcoBoost 2.7L and 3.5L, you need two upstream wideband oxygen sensors. Bosch and Denso are again recommended. Bosch supplies wideband sensors directly to Ford for EcoBoost production. Cost per sensor, $20 to $45 depending on application. Total cost for two upstream sensors, $40 to $90. Step 2. Get the right tool. You need an oxygen sensor socket, a 3 or 8 inch drive socket with a slot cut in the side for the sensor wire. Cost at any auto parts store, $8 to $12. This is the only specialized tool required. Step 3. Warm the engine. Run your truck for 10 minutes before sensor replacement. Warm sensors unthread more easily than cold ones. The thermal expansion of the exhaust manifold threads slightly loosens the sensor's grip. This prevents thread damage on removal. Step 4. Locate the upstream sensors. On both Silverado and F-150, the upstream sensors are threaded into the exhaust manifold or exhaust pipe before the catalytic converters. On V8 engines, there is one sensor per exhaust bank, driver side and passenger side. They are the sensors with wiring connectors located nearest to the engine. Step 5. Remove and replace. Disconnect the electrical connector. Apply penetrating oil to the sensor threads if the truck has over 80,000 miles. Allow 5 minutes to soak. Thread in the oxygen sensor socket and ratchet. Turn counterclockwise to remove. Thread new sensor in by hand first to avoid cross-threading. Torque to 33 foot-pounds. Reconnect electrical connector. Repeat for second upstream sensor on opposite bank. Step 6. Reset the ECM. Disconnect the negative battery terminal for 10 minutes after sensor replacement. This clears the ECM's learned fuel trim data, allowing it to recalibrate with the new, faster responding sensors from a clean baseline. Without this reset, the ECM carries over fuel trim corrections learned with the degraded sensor, reducing the immediate fuel economy benefit. Total time, 15 minutes per sensor, 30 minutes for both upstream sensors. Total cost, $40 to $90 in parts, plus $10 in tools. Dealer equivalent, $150 to $200 per sensor installed. Let me show you the exact 5-year fuel waste cost for a Silverado or F-150 owner who replaces oxygen sensors only when the check engine light comes on. Average check engine light oxygen sensor failure, 90,000 to 110,000 miles. Average sensor degradation beginning, 60,000 to 70,000 miles. That means the average American truck owner drives 30,000 to 40,000 miles with a degraded oxygen sensor before the check engine light triggers replacement. At 10% fuel economy penalty and $3.40 per gallon, 35,000 miles of degraded sensor operation costs approximately $680 in wasted fuel per sensor replacement cycle. Over 5 years, 2 complete sensor degradation and replacement cycles. Total wasted fuel cost, approximately $1,360 per truck, plus dealer replacement cost when the light finally triggers, $150 to $200 per sensor times 2 sensors, $300 to $400 per replacement cycle. 2 cycles over 5 years, $600 to $800 in unnecessary dealer markup. Total 5-year cost of not replacing sensors on schedule, $1,960 to $2,160 per truck. Total 5-year cost of scheduled replacement at 55,000 mile intervals, $180 in parts, $2,160 versus $180 per truck over 5 years. The check engine light is not a maintenance schedule. It is a last resort warning system. And the 30,000 miles between when your oxygen sensor degrades and when the light finally comes on is 30,000 miles of fuel you paid for and your engine did not use. 2 upstream oxygen sensors, $40 to $90 at any auto parts store, 30 minutes in your driveway, immediate fuel economy improvement on the very next tank. That is the complete answer to 8 to 14% of your annual fuel bill disappearing into degraded sensor response times that your dealer charges $200 to fix and never reminds you to do on schedule. Share this with every Chevy and Ford owner you know. The fuel savings begin immediately, and the person you share this with will remember it every time they fill their tank. Subscribe and hit the bell. Next week, I am going into the $5 fix that stops Silverado AFM lifter tick permanently, and why GM has issued 5 separate technical service bulletins about the same failure without ever mentioning the compound that eliminates it. See you there.